Gentlemen, if you are over the age of 40, especially if you are non-Caucasian or if you are that man's spouse, child, or other significant other, this segment is especially for you. It's about the elevated risk of prostate cancer and what you need to know to detect it and treat it and get your man to the hospital. Here to share some insight on the issue is Virgil Simons, founder and president of the Prostate Net. Thanks for coming and joining us.
My pleasure, thank you.
Of course, we always talk about early detection. That's the key.
Absolutely. If you have diagnosed the disease and found it early, your options for treatment increase tremendously. The longer you wait, the narrower your options become.
And of course, you know, a lot of guys are hesitant to go to the doctor until the last minute. But let's say you go and the doctor gives you that word that, hey, you've got prostate cancer.
The key thing here to realize is that that diagnosis has many permutations to it. We have to look at the first thing is the pathology report. The pathology report is going to tell you what percent of the samples taken have cancer. Do all the samples have the prostate mutation in there? And is it a situation that needs to be acted upon immediately? In many cases we find that there's too quick to pull the trigger. Mm-hmm. You get a diagnosis and you maybe only have a 10% volume of one sample, mm-hmm. and immediately they rush you to surgery. And that's contraindicated.
Sometimes that's not always necessary.
That's right. We have this thing called active surveillance, which is a case of monitoring it in conjunction with your doctor, and you can live quite well with the disease for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. You know, when we talk about cancer, that's always the first thing people say, oh, okay, I've got a plan for my exit. And that's not necessarily the case.
No, I mean, we look at the worst possible situation, that you have an advanced stage disease and it's spread throughout your system, you still have years before it can kill you. Mm-hmm. So there's the opportunity to really move at many stages of the disease to take positive steps to prolong your life, have the retention of the quality of life you like, and survive to live a good one.
How do you, I don't know how you do that, how do you break this to your wife, your kids? How do you come home and just say, hey, guess what?
It's a difficult thing. I know in my situation it was a case of, you know, what was I going to say? How was I going to say it? Was it the case that, honey, I got prostate cancer and I may die? You have to go through many things. And initially, you go through a case of rejection. You know, it can't be me. It's, you know, they got the results wrong, whatever. Then after that's confirmed, you get a sense of self-pity. You know, why me? You know, why should it happen to me? Mm-hmm. Then ultimately you decide, okay, I'm going to fight this thing. I'm going to find a way to live my life. And then you begin to take positive steps and you get your wife, your children, your grandchildren, everybody who becomes part of your support network around you. Mm-hmm. That's your own army to fight this disease.
How do you get over the denial part? And make it closer to, okay, I've got to let everybody know.
That's the toughest thing. And I found in many cases, many men don't ever really get over the denial part of it. We've had guys who've been through surgery, who've been through radiation, they're cured, but they still can't engage themselves in life again. Mm-hmm. I had guys who talked to me for like 2 months running, literally 3 times a week. You know, I'm at work and they're looking at me like I should be dead. I said, well, okay, but you're not dead. Mm-hmm. You know, you're fine, you're well. You got to be able to tell them that, you know, I'm the same guy I was before. But it's a strange thing with the disease. If you don't feel that somehow you've beaten it, if you don't feel confident in the decisions you've made, the denial still is present.
Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that affects the decisions that you make that impact your loved ones and your family.
I mean, if you're denying the fact that, you know, this is happening to me, then saying, well, I'm not going to die from it, you know, so I'm just not going to do anything. Mm-hmm. And we've had many cases where people will say, well, if God wants me, you know, to have cancer, I'm going to have cancer and I'll die. And it's that sense of, I guess, predestination or just saying that I don't have control of my life that kills too many men. This is a case where you have so many things you can do to save your life that, you know, there's no reason not to.
I want to get back to one thing we talked about earlier. At what age should men start thinking, hey, let me go get tested, let me talk to my doctor, even with no family indication or indication that something's wrong?
Well, generally we say in most of the societies, American Cancer Society, American Urological Association, will say men at 50 should get a PSA test.
Every year?
based upon the results.
Okay.
If you have a PSA that's totally normal, totally within the confines of the scale, then maybe every 2 years, maybe every 3 years. But if you're in a high-risk category, Vietnam veterans, African American men, people with a family history, you should start at age 40.
Okay.
And then look to do that at least every year.
All right. Wives, girlfriends, get your man to get himself checked out. If he's 40 or over, do the right thing. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.